quorum. We're going to go ahead and start this. Do we have the flag for the pledge? We do. I'm going to ask everybody to stand, please.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need people to mute. Terrible feedback when we were doing the pledge there. Okay. Review of the previous minutes from our February 7th meeting. They were sent out ahead of time. Does anybody have any additions, corrections, subtractions from those February 7th meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as sent.
Bobby Simpson makes a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Dave Sherman. As we've done in previous meetings, unless it's a roll call vote, I'm going to ask if there's any abstentions or nays. And if we don't hear any, then we're going to assume that motions are passed. So is there any objections or abstentions to the approval of the February 7th minutes? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move on. Treasurer's report, Dave.
Sorry about that. John, you sent out the balance sheet, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it was in the notes that went out. There's
Yes.
been several. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yes, I did send it out.
Okay. There's been several. You've received several deposits towards Spring Fling, correct?
Yes.
And those are noted in the in that list, that balance sheet at this time. So I don't have anything else to add to that, Deb.
We should let people know that we're working with the accountant to try to get the year-end reporting done so that we can get that in the grants gateway for funding. John Purcell was going to jump right on that, and Dave has been making sure that the monthly reports are printed and sent over to Jonathan to be able to do those reconciliations. So does anybody have any questions on the treasurer's report? Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? It was sent out to everybody.
I'll make that motion, Deb.
Motion made by Bobby Simpson to accept the treasurer's report. Do we have a second?
I'll make that second.
I'll second that.
Ron Smith seconds. Thank you, Ron. Moving on to enforcement list. Ann, can you pull that up for me, please?
Yep.
Rather short enforcement list compared to our last one. This is from February 7th through Friday, because there's been another one added, but it's not showing on there because it just was put on. So there's just 3 showing on the enforcement list. 1 revoked and 1 voluntary surrender and 1 a civil penalty. So any questions on the enforcement list? Okay, and did you have, I know we went through a lot of correspondence at the REMAC level, but is any of that pertinent for here that we need to share at this time?
Yes, I would just share that we received a New York staffing proposal from Stat Medivac, and we discussed it at the REMAC meeting, and we are going to send it to the REMSCO Air Medical Committee for review and determination to whether to support or whatever we need to do back to Dr. Delaney.
So Ann will probably try to get that out to the Air Medical Committee this week so that you have time to evaluate that, so that we can get a timely response to Dr. Delaney on that. Any other, Ann, for?
Yes, I think I would like to share, we did receive a letter. Actually, I received it today. And it was a correspondence that was shared with me that Indian River Ambulance is going to be putting out to their community. And they reached out to all their elected officials in the 3 communities that they primarily cover, to send education and actions taken and things that they are going to do to help combat multiple overdoses that have been in that community. And these are overdoses with highly concentrated opioids. So they went above and beyond and, reached out to all their elected officials, educated them. They're going to be doing community lay or hands only CPR. And they have worked with Anchor Recovery to get a large amount of Narcan to be able to distribute within the community. So I just wanted to acknowledge and send accolades out to them for their perseverance in battling this opioid pandemic that we continue to be in.
Very nice. Committee reports. Rich, Air Medical.
Yeah, I was a little late in getting a meeting invitation sent out. I did it a few weeks ago, and I'll have to verify the email addresses of the people on the committee because I didn't get a response. But so I don't have a report for this quarter.
Do we want to bring everybody up to speed on Fort Drum flying off base so that everybody's aware of the status of that?
Yeah, currently there is some work that needs to be done on defining the liabilities for the use of the Army aircraft off post, because some concerns with some responses in the past over who's got liability in those circumstances. So some lawyers are doing some things on Fort Drum. We're trying to iron that out and hopefully get some agreements drafted. Until that time, anybody that needs that asset is still encouraged to call if they need that. We're there for them. But we just want to have those agreements in place.
Now, that kind of Rich, that kind of goes against what Joe Plummer put out, because he put out an email a few weeks ago saying that we were not to request them at all until all that was rectified.
Well, like I say, if there's an emergency and you need that resource and we have it available, we don't want to discourage somebody from doing that. Obviously, the safety and the treatment of a patient is the most important thing. But it's his office's position to not request it. But that doesn't mean that any other civil authority can't call and ask for it.
So if you don't mind, I did have a quick correspondence with Major Smith this morning, actually. And I did refer him to the emergency managers for the respective counties because they have actually been using them. St. Lawrence County has been using them. I'm not sure about Lewis County, but I did encourage him that if he had a message to send it to the county emergency managers today.
Right.
Told him that if he needed any contacts or anything like that to get back with me, and I've been busy and I don't believe he's emailed me back, but just to kind of give folks an update on where that is, because I think I can speak for St. Lawrence County. I was just looking to see if John Mitchell is on. But they have utilized him. Mark Deaver's agency specifically. I don't even see Mark. So it may be different now depending on what county you're in.
And it's Mark and Deb. My understanding is that memorandum that went out was specific to Jefferson County, and the liability that they're trying to define through the 911 office there. So to the best of my knowledge, that directive does not affect St. Lawrence or Lewis County.
Great. I'm sorry to interrupt. The use of a DoD resource, as long as it falls within the criteria of the Defense Support of Civil Authorities, the DISCA rules, then liability is something that's kind of managed through that process. But understanding how people don't want to be on the hook for something that happens is totally understandable. But that process is something that our commander on Fort Drum, he's the one that says yes or no when they allow that resource to serve the community, and he's pretty well educated on how that process works. So but we'll still work through the legalities and make sure that we cover all the bases.
Absolutely. I absolutely support any additional resources that we have, and thank you for everything that they do.
Okay, auditing, we kind of talked about that up under treasurer. So monthly, the books are audited, the reconciliations are completed. And again, we're doing our best to get all that to John Purcell this week so he can complete the 990 for last year. We're really struggling with the folks in Albany and the Grants Gateway. They want the 990 even know that our year isn't over. So we've really been struggling trying to explain to them that our year didn't end until March 31st. And then they're like, well, you're gonna have to do two. And we're like, we're not gonna pay for two. You can't do that. So John is working with us to try to get that taken care of. So Ron Smith, bylaw.
Good evening, everybody. A lot of behind the scenes issues with members. We don't have anything at this moment to bring forward. We're going to see if we can't have something for the June meeting.
Thank you, Ron. No CONs that I'm aware of. Ann, has anybody else heard of any CONs that are going to be coming our way?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Executive committee, we have had a couple executive committee meetings. Right now, we're working on our memo of understanding with Fort Drum Regional Health Planning and the services that we utilize as a REMSCO. Jonathan doing the financial end, the renting of the space and things like that. So there's currently 3 different MOUs and we're working on combining them into one. So we have had some conversations on that. We will talk about under new business, an initiative we're looking at having a hybrid meeting and what's involved in that. And we're going to be working on that, but we can discuss that under new business. Dave Sherman, legislative.
We actually did not have a meeting. We will be having one this week. As soon as I have anything outside of that, I'll get back to everybody. But at this point, there was some discussion last time about things that were going on, but later on in the meeting, it was pointed out, and I talked to some people who went to the meeting in Albany, and what we were going to be addressing had been pretty much resolved that way. They've shifted around a few things, and most of what they're concentrating on right now is 209B legislation, which has to do with fire department's billing. So there wasn't really the issues that were originally talked about seemed to have settled down, but there's still a few things that we're gonna need to talk about. If there's anything pressing, then we'll get it out to everybody, but that's where I'm at right now.
Does it look like that's going to make it to the floor for a vote, Dave?
The 209B got pulled over. It is once again in the one house bill. It is, one house budget, the Senate. It is not in the assembly. It doesn't seem to be moving in the assembly. But we'll see what happens. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about that want any answers or something to that effect that I can help you with? That's all I have.
Very good. We'll move on to membership. Karen sent out emails. Karen, do you want to review that for the people whose terms were expiring, please?
Just a moment. I wasn't ready to do that. Sorry. We could just pull that up. I have it right here. Do you want me to go over it by name? Is that what you want me to do?
Yes, please.
1 second.
While Karen's pulling that up, I guess the question to the council is, do you want to vote on these individually or do you want to vote on them as a group? These are people that were on the membership that were contacted to see if they were interested in staying on and serving another term on the council.
I say vote as a group.
I agree.
Anybody opposed to doing that? Very good. We'll do it as a group. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, sorry, I had the wrong document.
Deb, can I ask a question while she's pulling that up?
Absolutely.
It was more specific to Dave. I didn't hit the right button. The New York State Nurses Association, I'm sure folks have been seeing it, but they have come out and opposed the expanding of the scope of practice for emergency services personnel. I was just wondering if from the legislative committees, either at Albany or locally, if he has heard any recent news on that specifically.
Mark, you're talking specifically with regard to the community paramedicine, correct?
No, this was more recent than that. This was HMH Article 7 Part F, and it's specific to New York State's scope of practice, where New York State EMS personnel scope of practice would be expanded, and the specific, I think, rub that the New York State Nurses Association has is that it would allow certified EMS personnel to practice within hospitals.
There's quite a bit of discussion going back and forth on that, and what you're bringing up is the mainstay of why NYSMA is fighting community paramedicine in New York State. They're actually lobbying against community paramedicine, and the purpose is they believe that it's going to allow us to work outside of our practice, out of our scope of practice, and it's not. That's not the purpose behind it, but that truly is what's being discussed, and that's why there's such a battle in Albany about granting community paramedicine. So there's a lot of discussion going on with that, and there's a lot of build towards pushing legislators to support community paramedicine. We do have a lot of people who support community paramedicine, but we also have a lot of legislators who get great amount of support from the nurses union. So that is why we have a significant battle. And that is the same reason why we have a significant battle trying to get insurance companies to directly pay the ambulances, because the insurance lobby pays the legislators more than EMS lobby can. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's the fact of politics. But
So,
yes, Mark, we are working on combating that across the state. Onion, Nice Vera. There actually are some hospital groups who are running a form of community paramedicine. It's got a different name on it. Forgive me for not having it on the top of my tongue here, but there are actually hospital groups that are trying to help us with this as well.
hey, Dave,
Yes.
this is Paul. Actually, I was going to talk about this exact topic when I got to my county report, but the cat is out of the bag. What you're talking about is the home care agency. They have a collaborative community medicine and paramedicine grant going on right now as a partnership with the Iroquois Health. Pilot 3 regions in the state for community paramedicine. And I'm very happy to say that Jefferson County has been selected, as well as Broome and Hudson Valley. I'll know more about all that specific when I meet with them next week.
Thank you for that update.
So, Mark, I think what you were asking about was working in the hospitals, correct?
It all intertwines. If you look at
Okay.
the language, I mean, it's if you look at the specific language, most are interpreting it like, it's very common in some states where you have paramedics that actually work in emergency departments, and there's been some scuttle about the specific wording and whether it should be included or excluded. And I was just curious. It was more curiosity on my part as if there was any progress with that, because I don't follow the political side of EMS nearly as much as I used to.
Well, that is exactly what the fight is what Debbie was saying, is that the discussion of paramedics moving in and working in the hospital, nurses are concerned that if they allow that, that's what we're going to do. Let's face it, I don't mean to say this in any other way. There are hospitals that are hiring EMTs and paramedics to come work in the ERs. They already are. They're calling them techs. That's not the purpose of what we're doing, but yes, that is one of the things that I believe that the nurse union is looking at, is if it's allowed one, then they think it could possibly be one more step. And then, here we go. Look, we all know paramedics are trained one way and nurses are trained another way. We're just trying to be able to do more work to help people outside the hospital. That's the goal behind what we're doing. And so NYSMA is bringing that up in probably, and if that's the case, that's what they should be doing, is preventing us from coming in and taking over their jobs in the ER. That is not what any paramedics I know want to do. They just want to be able to do more for their people they treat and care for in their community. But that's what I have for that information anyway.
Dave, this is Matt. To kind of come off of that, the discussions I've had with individuals that are looking into some of this stuff, the biggest thing is scope of practice, and it's not so much that paramedics will be working outside of the scope of practice. I believe NYSMA's stance is more on the fact that the definition of a paramedic or EMT scope of practice currently is really unclear. There isn't like that set in stone set of commandments that says a paramedic does this and EMT does that. And I think that's where they poked holes in kind of the integrity of the section F of the governor's proposed bill that would cause some, or proposed budget that would create some changes to the EMS system. But overall, like I think Mark was getting at, is it's a question of the scope of practice, in the sense that there needs to be a definition of the scope of practice to step off of in order to improve it, I guess is the way to put it. And there isn't that foundation in place, let alone a clear definition of what the expectations are. It's left way too open and vague in any of the documents. And I think even Onion and NYSVERA have kind of alluded to that, but NYSNA took advantage of the opportunity and kind of stepped both in the community paramedicine / mobile integrated health direction, but also in the in-hospital setting, and saying that there is no clear definition, that they're trained differently, and it kind of begs the question that there needs to be some type of improved oversight of the overall system. And and even in loose definition, at least what I interpreted from it, is they kind of wanted to interject nursing into community paramedicine in some type of oversight capacity.
Thanks for that input.
Okay, Karen, are you all set?
I'm all set. So I had reached out to the following members and asked them if they wanted to continue in their membership for another 4 years. James Barr, I did not hear from. Michael Bennett from Jefferson County, yes. Mark Devers from St. Lawrence County, yes. Larry Gerard from Jefferson County, yes. Joshua Levesque, Lewis County did say yes. Carol Munch from St. Lawrence County said yes. Lance Ronis from Jefferson County said yes. Roberta Simpson from Jefferson County said yes. Ronald Smith from Jefferson County said yes. Dottie Suter from Lewis County said yes. Mark Tuttle from Lewis County said yes. And Bruce Wright from Jefferson County said yes as well.
I just wanted to add in that Jim Barr had said yes. Remember, he had the problem with the email because St. Lawrence Health
yes.
System email blocks that. And I was able to get a hold of him and he said yes.
Okay, so everyone said yes. That's the whole list.
So then Karen, do you want to make a motion to renew the memberships for the existing council members that are interested?
So I'll make a motion to renew the memberships for the interested council members. Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yes, that's what I said. Very good. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Dave Sherman. If there are no abstentions, we will let that go. We'll just give it a second to see if anybody wants to abstain or object at this point for the renewal of all those memberships on the council.
Debbie, I'll abstain since I'm on the list.
Okay. Not hearing any, so moved, that will go through. Dottie will do the nominating down under new business for the election of officers. Is Mark Devers on or? to
Mark
do
is
this?
teaching.
Deb, can I make a small personal note on the membership?
Absolutely.
If I complete this next 4 years, I'll have served 50 years on the council. I was here when the council started way, way back.
That's amazing. Thank you for your service, Ron.
You're most welcome. I've enjoyed it most of the time.
So I know on the peer side, I know letters were sent out to the agencies and the individuals that received awards last year at Vital Signs, inviting them to Spring Fling. I'm
I
not,
have a peer committee report. I had it pulled up here.
thank you.
It's just, I got 16 Word docs pulled up. So they met 3/17 of 2022. They're hoping to put together a little PR campaign that the agencies can do during EMS week. Lance and Mark have a mutual staff member who is handy with a computer, so they're gonna ask him to help with some of the media, basic, the template. Basically template most things so they can add ambulances. We want agencies to engage the community as much as possible during EMS week this year. Lance is going to reach out to some of the news folks, see if they can get a feature or two or three during that week. And they chatted about working to convince EMS folks to keep social media posts either positive or productive. Again, this is not an issue isolated to New York State. So they have been busy. They've also sent some emails to our office. They're working on looking at different positive data points we can pull out of the data and be able to share on a routine basis. So
Here.
that's what they have been busy with meetings.
Okay, moving on to program agency, Ann.
Okay, so does anybody mind if I kind of combine the REMAC along with the program agency?
Please do.
All right, I gotta move you over here. So, hold on a minute, I got too many chat boxes going here. So at the REMAC meeting tonight, I already discussed one thing that we talked about, which was with the air medical. We had 2 new members approved. Dr. Heggers, who's a flight surgeon with oversight of the aviation battalion on Fort Drum, and Dr. Vento, who is a fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, and she is the deputy commander for clinical services of the Guthrie Ambulatory Health on Fort Drum. Sadly, we also accepted a couple resignations from the committee. Dr. Heiss will be moving on towards the end of the year, and she's been working to transition her current EMS agencies over, and that she's service medical director for. And Daniel and Jay, I always mispronounce his name, so I'm not even going to try it, who's a fairly new member of the REMAC, but he was accepted into medical school and will be leaving the area. We also, at the end of the meeting under new business, I believe, because I don't have the agenda in front of me, will be presenting the committee list, unless the chair would like me to do that following my report.
No, we'll do it under new.
For the 2022 REMAC committee. So let me share my screen here. I'm just going to kind of mix all the REMAC and my program agency report together. Get the right screen here. So the Regional Trauma Advisory Committee has not met. As many of you may or may not be aware, Dr. Marks unexpectedly passed away on February 9th. He was chair of that committee and was a very active player in many arenas on the trauma side, including the State Trauma Advisory Committee. Our sympathies go out to our colleagues in the Central New York area and the upstate hospital community. But they have not had a meeting since then, as they are reorganizing. So Dr. Marks will definitely be missed. The Stroke Advisory Committee met on March 18th, and I know this is small, you can't see it. I'll send it out if anybody wants it afterwards, but the meeting minutes were sent to the group as a whole following our last meeting, and our next meeting is June 17th. Josh Onion from the Stroke Center, SUNY Upstate Stroke Center, joined us at the REMAC meeting and discussed that a lot of the hospitals will be utilizing Tenecteplase instead of Alteplase for thrombolysis treatment of acute ischemic strokes. The benefit for the EMS community is for hospitals using the Tenecteplase, it's a bolus dose, it's not a drip. It's hopefully easier to transport these patients from the North Country. So we have a communication that'll be going out to our agencies that do interfacility transports regarding that, because I know a few of the hospitals will be switching over to the use of this medication. So as a follow-up, the last meeting, I talked about the Fast ED video and the follow-up video with the scoring tool. There's a picture of the scoring tool, the collaborative group, stroke quality group. We have decided to roll this out at the spring fling timeframe. It's going to be rolled out in mid-state, central New York as well. There are incentives as before to the agencies. And again, the SUNY Upstate was able to get us a bunch of laminated cards that we'll have available at spring fling. And I just threw the picture up there so folks could see what they look like. And we'll be giving those out. And the YouTube link should be in last month's minutes for that video if anybody's interested in looking at it. And it will also be in this month's meeting minutes. Our agency renewals, there's the list of them. The BLSFRs who are in the continuing medical education program are now required to register a vehicle. They did extend that deadline to July 1st. And what we're seeing is as they submit, if they haven't previously sent in an update, they are being sent back a correspondence from DOH saying that they want other forms to complete a renewal of their BLSFR. We were not aware that that was happening. We did send a letter out to all of our BLSFRs about the vehicle registrations as a reminder, but we didn't know that they were going to be asking for that other information. So if you have a BLSFR in contact with any of them, let them know that they may be asked for the renewal update forms like the 2828 roster and the BLSFR certified update form. So as you can see, we had a couple different CON actions for Hammond. As you know, we completed the transfer of operating authority, but there was a little delay in there and they were afraid that the village CON would lapse before they got the fire district CON done. So they did, the poor agency had to do all the paperwork for the renewal of the Hammond Village CON, as well as all the paperwork for the new Hammond Fire District CON. And at this point in time, one is renewed and the other one is approved now. So that's why there's two for Hammond. Level of care changes, and I missed Falls in there. Sorry, Windsor Falls, my apologies. But anyways, we approved them in February at the REMAC. The inspection was done and they are now paramedic level. The paperwork will be forwarded to the state. They approved the Sackett's Harbor BLS to upgrade to AEMT pending inspection by the program agency. And Star Lake Fire Department was approved to move down to the AEMT level that need approvals for REMAC. No need approval here. So their narcotics have been turned in. We've got a receipt and we've worked with them in the Department of Health to make sure that's all taken care of. There's your update on public access defibrillation. What the YMCA updated for each of their locations. So the following regional BLS adjuncts were approved. The BLS blood glucometry for Star Lake Fire Department, pending receipt of their Wadsworth certificate. That is, they're waiting on that. Constableville and Black River Ambulance were approved for BLS 12 lead. They're finalizing some signatures and processes, but once that's done, they will be approved. And then Black River Ambulance is now carrying Nitronox, and that's a notification. The health commerce system, they did change up the EMT search. It now shows expired providers. It looks a little different if somebody hasn't been in there. And it also shows instructor certification dates. Make sure, especially if you're an instructor, that you double check your dates. We've seen a couple with errors. Somehow they didn't get into the system correctly. But the state has been good about fixing those. They're working on the ability that you'll be able to print your own digital card that at this point of the game is being sold as how if you lose your card and you want to get another one. At this point, the state is still printing cards. I would surmise down the road that's probably you're probably gonna get your card that way, but we'll see. As most of you are probably aware, but if not, New York State granted another 1-year extension to all providers, and they also reinstated any providers who expired between August 1st, 2021 and January 31st, 2022, and gave them a year. So we did send a PDF of each provider's new expiration date out to them, and those are all the providers that are registered in the CME system. So thank you to Jonathan and FDR-HPO Administrative Assistant Mariah Baker helped us because that's over 700 and some PDFs they pulled and emailed. So great work by them. And there's the policy statement. It'll be in the minutes if you'd like to read further on the extensions. There's no real change here in the EPCR forefront. I did leave this in here. We got a notification from the Department of Health listing 4 agencies that weren't compliant with EPCR to be able to stay in the CME program, and 3 out of the 4 departments we had submitted the 5136 for and they had approved. So we reminded them of that, and because we had the forms, we sent them back the forms. So Shamo is the only one that is not live on EPCR that is in the CME system. And we've had multiple correspondences with them. So we are really encouraging providers to copy us on information they send to the state, because then we get it in their file folders and have that record of it if it doesn't get recorded. Remembering that the state has a very antiquated database system, and that is part of the problem. EPCR data integrity, we continue to work on that through routine data committee meetings, and also with these data pulls that we're using to complete the quality corner documents. We've been dealing with some upload issues with a few vendors. We usually find them when one of our specialty centers is looking for a chart and they can't find it in Hospital Hub. So that consumes some of our time as well. And we haven't heard anything more about updates to the EPCR schematron that was going to go live the end of the year. Spring Fling, moving along. It'll be April 28th through 30th. One of the things in an effort with that having the conference for the last few years, we did send letters out to all our local hospitals, and they did, for the most part, we got checks from almost all of them to help us support and help us keep the prices down for our providers. And we also have a multitude of vendors. And LifeNet is a gold sponsor, as well as VCI Emergency Vehicles. We have all of the sponsors listed on the brochure, but they're very helpful and we really appreciate their support. At this point of the game, we have 110 registrations at the end of the early bird deadline. So we are hoping to get a few more, but anticipate a little bit smaller numbers this year especially with that extension coming out on the cards. But I'm very happy that we're at least over 100. Debbie, do you have anything more to add for spring fling?
I do have signups. We will need volunteers once again from REMSCO to help with registering and scanning folks when they're coming out. So if you're available, please drop me a quick email if you have a specific, if you're there all the days or just a certain day. So we need folks to help register people Thursday night, Friday morning, Saturday morning. We need people to scan people coming out of the conferences as well as scanning them at lunch. So if you're available and can help, please drop me a line and I'll get you on the schedule. If we get some help, then it will make things much easier and less work for everybody. So if you can help, please reach out to me.
I'd also like to note and thank Mark Tuttle. He is working with LifeNet and they will be doing our core programs on Friday. So thank you, Mark, for all of your work on that. And we are once again looking at doing our Fort Drum EMS Day. Our last one was done in 2019. Tentatively, we're shooting for June 18th. This is in conjunction with the Mystic, the Medical Simulation Center. So we're going to do some interactive scenarios with the aviation support unit there as well. So the meetings just started last week on that, so there'll definitely be more to come. We're hoping to do some lectures on burns. So hopefully that date will work for the folks at the Upstate Burn Center because they were going to join us on this as well. So the pediatric emergency care coordinators, again, we'd like Guilfoyle is now added to the list. That's why they're highlighted blue. It's just the rest of them have been on the list. But just for your information, previously the Southern Tier Healthcare System had been contracted by the state to help manage this program. And as of March 31st, that contract with them ran out. So all the duties when it comes to this committee at the state level has been transitioned back to Amy Eisenhower. If there's any questions, we did assist in sending a last minute email blast out to any of our local agencies who hadn't done the survey that needed to be done for the federal initiative. It's very helpful in us receiving, not us specifically, but the state receiving funding for pediatric emergency care. So we're hoping that some more agencies are able to complete that. Yeah, just some miscellaneous stuff from the office. The one big thing to note is the EMS Memorial. We had previously reported it to be in May due to work on the memorial tree that's there that won't be completed. They have moved that till September 20th instead of in May. So they also approved the, let me get out of that show there. They also approved the Quality Corner newsletter, and I can't remember whether I sent that to the REMSCO and the REMAC or just the REMAC. So if I can pull it up on the screen, there we go. So in trying to be more proactive with quality assurance, we have a committee from the REMAC that's working on pulling data now that we are 100% with our transporting agencies. It helps us identify educational needs on the data side when we start seeing the differences in documentation. But it's also helping us set some metrics, and, you know, we look forward to being more proactive with this. The review that we did was on trauma documentation, and we decided to come out with some education on the trauma triad of death as well. The big thing we focused on were our patients that had major trauma criteria documented in the chart. And then we looked at scene times, specifically the ones that were greater than 30 minutes, and did a full review of those. And we listed out some of the key takeaways that we had, and I'm not going to go through them all now. This will be coming out. But then we did some metrics with goals and some theory and evidence behind all the stuff that we put in there. So it's educational, proactive education to go out to agencies. This is our second one. We are getting a little bit better at this, but kudos to the team that worked on this with us, which was Mark and Melissa, Mark Devers and Melissa Brooks. So Jonathan and I put in a lot of time pulling together this document. So thank you, everybody, for your help with that. I believe I have covered the majority of items of interest from the REMAC meeting, as well as my program agency report. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Ann?
And that last document, I don't recall seeing it. Could you send that out again?
I will send it out to the, I thought I sent it to both the REMSCO and the REMAC, but it may have just gone to the REMAC for review. But it'll go out to everybody.
Okay. Is Larry Gerard on to give a safety committee update?
He is not, but he has, they have sent me some stuff which I've posted for our Sunday mailer.
Okay. SEMSCO or CMAC, Ann?
The next state meeting is April 12th and 13th. A lot of the committees have been working, so hopefully there'll be some additional reports out of that. They will be, whoops, I'm sorry. They will be hybrid meetings. So again, they are open meetings, and as soon as we have the links, we will get them posted and sent out for everybody. But a lot of times it's the day before or so.
Paul, training and ed, please.
At this point, we have not had a meeting, so nothing to report at this point.
Okay. County reports, Jefferson County.
Okay, well, just moving on, our courses are still continuing. We are moving forward, been given the approval from Gene to go forward with our instructor update at Spring Fling. So we're looking forward to getting a good group there. We're making preliminary plans for the fall courses, both in the city as well as Lewis County. We're going to put out a feeler for interest in any CFR or other outlying basic classes as well. As I alluded to a little bit earlier, we are in the early plans partnering with Iroquois Health, which is the organization, home care agency that has been doing the community paramedicine. They're looking to expand on that. So this collaborative community medicine and paramedicine is going to include the hospitals, home care agencies, physicians, and EMS services. So they have reached out here locally in Jefferson County to public health, our office, as well as Samaritan, and apparently everyone is on board. So more to come, as I alluded to, once we have our initial meeting here moving forward. So that's kind of good news moving forward to provide some added care to our homebound patients. We're continuing to work with HIDA doing the OD mapping, although our participation could be better with some of our agencies that are involved. Chris has been spearheading along with a few other folks doing some MassCal incident training. We have identified in our MassCal incidences, drills, both at Fort Drum and at the airport, that we really are falling short in our MCI. So they have come up with a very workable plan that demonstrates what items should be done in the first arrival. So that information has been presented to all the zones leaderships, and that's been completed, all 5 zones. And they're going to start individual zone trainings for fire and EMS combo starting in May. Still working with the Herkimer paramedic program. The Fort Drum drill, I know Rich is online. The Fort Drum drill this summer is scheduled in July, the 18th to the 22nd. More will be available pending release of information. We did complete the Rapid EMT Academy. We completed with 20 students. We had 19 who completed successfully through the 5-week academy. Testing is underway. My last known data was we had just one person not be successful on the state exam, but otherwise most of those students have been successful. We're still doing the community paramedicine for the COVID vaccine, though those numbers have, or those requests have dwindled. And we have our EMS advisory board meeting next on the 19th of April. And that's all I have at this point.
Any questions for Paul with Jefferson County?
Paul, this is Ann. If you get a chance, I'll chat with you because the Iroquois, those folks also reached out to FDR HPL. And hopefully we can coordinate that a little more.
Oh, absolutely.
They said they called Fort Drum. I told you that.
Okay, St. Lawrence
Oh,
County.
I'm sorry.
Whoops, did you have something else, Paul?
Well, no, I was just going to say, you know, the email I received, it said that it reached out to Fort Drum. So I didn't know exactly what that meant. So it's apparently the Fort Drum Regional.
It must be, yeah,
Planning.
our office they reached out to.
Okay, yeah.
But I'll chat with you tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't see, Jonathan is at Montour Falls and Mark is teaching class. So I do have a couple things from St. Lawrence, if you don't mind, if I report, Debbie.
Yep, go ahead.
First, of course, he just disappeared from camera. I would like to introduce, and I'll kind of maybe wait till he comes back on. Clarkson did, there he is. Clarkson did appoint a new director for the, it's the director of experiential learning, which will be overseeing the EMT program. And many of us know him. He's been at Spring Fling. He's helped us out as a speaker. And we have some agencies in St. Lawrence County that have some providers through a company that he owns. But I'd like to introduce Doug Wildermuth. Doug, do you want to say anything?
Oh, I didn't know I needed to talk. Sorry.
So you're under drug,
Yeah,
so you might want to say hi.
absolutely,
yourself, if you will.
absolutely. I just wanted to say hello, and I'm excited to be part of this organization if everything works out. But I wanted to thank Anne and all her team that made this transition from Canton to Clarkson. I think it's an influential and very important education step in St. Lawrence County. I'm happy to work with her, and I'm very proud of the work that she's done, and looking forward to all the future in education in St. Lawrence County. So I'm only been here 2 weeks, but I'm looking forward to a long time here as I transplant my family up here, and looking forward to meeting many of you in person.
Karen, do we have any openings in St. Lawrence County for the council that we could add Doug on to the
Debbie?
council?
I sent you guys an application already. Yes, there is an education position that's open. I had talked about the open positions at my last advisory board meeting. And Doug did submit an application with the course sponsor support.
We'll vote on that under new business then. Anything else for St. Lawrence County?
I'm not sure that, well, it's been highly publicized, but there was a meeting at the operations committee at the legislative level where a reporter who listens to the tape recorded YouTube video put an article in the North Country Now paper that wasn't 100% accurate. I mean, he did not have the correct terminology. You know, that it was a problem with ambulance drivers, etc. So the advisory board recommended that the chair of the board and the county coordinator work together, and they approved a letter that was sent out. St. Lawrence County is having some significant challenges with their number of providers and, you know, getting ambulances out the door all the time. So in some areas. So that is a issue that they're certainly working on diligently. The county is going out and meeting with their districts in St. Lawrence County, but they're similar to the zones in Jefferson County. So that's what's going on there. Okay. That's all.
Any questions for St. Lawrence County? And I don't believe Bob is on, correct? Bob had a prior commitment.
Yeah, no, he's on.
He's here.
He is on, okay.
So I'll start with more of a commentary more than a report. I just came back from the Fire Coordinators Conference down in Montour Falls area. And lo and behold, the topic of conversation was the aging population in the fire service as well as EMS. Some of the coordinators reported that they're starting to reference some of their fire agencies as EMS agencies that occasionally put out fires. So they're starting to see the high demand that is being put on EMS at this time. One comment that was made down there was there is a difference between mutual aid and aid. So they're starting to see dwindling numbers of ability to respond from some of these agencies. So it caught everyone's attention. So it's not just us that are talking about the declining numbers. So with that said, Lewis County's formed a legislative subcommittee to try to address the dwindling number of EMS providers within Lewis County. And we're trying to put together a ad campaign and push. And I know I've reported that previous, however, now it's really starting to come together. With the potential this fall to have 2 separate EMT classes within Lewis County, it's really a good time to strike while the iron's hot. So we're still pushing that forward, and hopefully it'll come together, and hopefully I'll have a better report for you by the next meeting. Our annual Snart Run is coming back to Lewis County. We're trying to organize the EMS agencies and the fire agencies as well, who provide the transportation of anyone who's injured during that event. The preliminary numbers for this particular event looks like it's going to set a record. So it's definitely going to be some high numbers. They base it off of the number of people that are actually registered for the event. However, there are a lot of people that just come up to ride for the event. So it's essentially going to be potentially up to 10 to 12,000 people coming to Lewis County to participate in a high-risk sport. So we've got some air medical agencies that may be coming there as well. We've got one that is confirmed, and we extended the offer to the other one as well. So
What's the date, Bob?
it's going to be next weekend on the 9th. So
This weekend, the 9th, or?
That is
6th?
correct.
Okay.
This weekend. Yep. So the planning for all of that has been ongoing, and most of the agencies that are participating in that we've reached out to confirm availability for that day. So it's been quite challenging, and I've been in and out of the office a lot due to personal reasons and also some of these conferences that I've had going on. So Jen's really been flying the flag high for me, or for the office, to make sure that all this falls into place. Last but not least, I was not going to be on the call today because today I am celebrating 30 years of wedded bliss to my very tolerant wife, who definitely puts up with my unique lifestyle. So our plans got changed, so here I am, able to be with you guys tonight.
Well, I knew that was happening, so that's why I was surprised to find that you were on. And I wanted to make sure that you'd be going for 31 by not, when you found out you were on the call, so.
That's okay. She's used to it by now.
Any questions for Bob with the Lewis County report? Okay, moving on to old business. We kind of did touch on spring fling, but I did want to share that we did discuss at the executive committee meeting the purchasing and selling of t-shirts, and we decided against that as we have secured a vendor that's coming in and selling shirts. They won't specifically say, you know, the spring fling, but we thought rather than spend finances on that and risk not selling them all, that we would make sure that if we have extra funds, that maybe we can do some door prizes and some different things. So we did decide against that for this year. Is there any other old business from the floor before we move on to new business? Not hearing any, we'll go on to new business. First is election of officers. So the vacancies are vice president and treasurer. And Dottie Suter sent me an email telling me that our current vice president, who is Mark Devers, and our current treasurer, who are Dave Sherman, are still interested in the positions. We will go over these individually because you can take nominations from the floor. So for the position of vice president, we have Mark Devers has been nominated. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Any other nominations from the floor? And the last time, any other nominations from the floor? I would like to request, go ahead.
Sorry, it's Bobby. I'll make a motion that the secretary cast one ballot for Mark for vice president.
Second.
Vice Chair, sorry. So we have a motion and a second for the treasurer, or for the secretary to cast one ballot for Mark Devers for Vice Chair. On to the position that I know everybody wants. So, you know what, when I say this, you can't talk over each other. So I make sure I get them all. The position of treasurer, we have Dave Sherman. Other nominations from the floor for treasurer? Other nominations from the floor for treasurer? Other nominations from the floor for treasurer?
I'll make the motion that the secretary cast one ballot for the treasurer to be Dave Sherman.
Second.
Was that you again, Fluff?
Yep, that was me.
we have a motion and a second for the secretary to cast one ballot for Dave Sherman for treasurer. Thank you. Elections are closed. That fills those positions. The next thing under new business is, Ann, do you want to pull up the REMAC committee appointments, please? So the following people have been appointed to REMAC for a 2-year term. In Jefferson County, Paul Barter is being extended as educator. And you'll notice next to Chris Singleton, Bob McKenzie, and Jonathan Mitchell, there are no expiration dates, as we have tied those to the county position of EMS, so those won't have an expiration date. Amanda Henry has been added as the ALS appointment for Jefferson County, replacing Bill Rice, whose term expired. So Amanda will be joining us. For those of you who don't know Amanda, she's a paramedic out at Carthage. In Lewis County, we have put Josh Levesque on as the ALS provider, and we've put Mark Tuttle on as the educator, with their terms expiring in 4/24. In St. Lawrence County, Mark Devers is replacing Melissa Brooks as the educator, and Melissa Brooks is replacing Daniel J., who is leaving the area to attend medical school, and we had no other applications from that county. So those folks have been put on to the REMAC for a 2-year term.
Just to add quick, like for Lewis County, we did put out the posting for both Josh and Mark's position because they expired and we didn't receive any applications, hence the reason why we expired their terms. And I'm really hopeful that they accept them because they're both great assets.
The next thing on the new business is, since we do have a vacancy in St. Lawrence County, looking to add Doug Wildermuth as a REMSCO member. Any discussion on that? Could I get a motion to that effect, please?
Yeah,
I'll
it's
make
Mark
the motion,
Tuttle.
Doug.
I'll second it. Mark Tuttle.
There was talk over who made the motion, please.
Sherman.
Dave Sherman made the motion, seconded by Mark Tuttle, to add Doug Wildermuth to our REMSCO. Doug, welcome to the region. You have vast experience, and we look forward to tapping into your knowledge to help us out here in our region.
Thank you so much. I look forward to working with all of you.
The next thing under new business is we want to discuss having hybrid meetings, starting with our June 13th meeting. So the state has come out with some information on this. So what we're going to be doing is sending out a survey monkey to all of the REMAC and REMSCO members, asking you to complete it. First thing is going to be, do you have a computer that has a camera, and do you have a computer that has speaker? Because those are requirements by the state in order to do this. If not, we will have the ability to meet in person. Right now we have the Fort Drum Regional Health Planning Conference Room reserved, and I have the conference room at the airport reserved as well. So it's going to be real imperative, folks, that you answer that survey monkey and give us some feedback. And also, if we go this route, which is what I think we're going to be doing, that you RSVP, and if you plan on attending in person, it's going to be real important that we know that, so that we can make sure we have a proper size space to hold folks. For the REMAC, Dr. Delaney has committed to being there in person with Ann and I, and obviously I will be there in person for the REMSCO. We know that some of you, excuse me, we know some of you travel quite a distance, and we have no problem with a hybrid. but they are going to require that you have a video and that you have audio in order to participate for doing these hybrid meetings. So please look for that survey, give us feedback. My other thought was, if you don't have that, maybe we set up in Lewis County, like at Lewis County Search and Rescue, and maybe at Governor or something, if we need additional resources to make sure that everybody can participate. So again, you'll be looking for that survey, and please give us that feedback.
Debbie,
Yep.
can I add one thing to that? I
Absolutely.
believe it wasn't just that they had to have video, they actually had to be on video during the meeting.
Correct.
So a lot of us tend to block out and have a name or a still picture. During the meeting, if it's going to be a hybrid public meeting, you have to be live on video for the meeting.
Correct. And again, I know some of you don't have the ability for the audio. Audio is required. So keep that in mind when you answer those questions. Other new business.
Deb, before you go to other new business, which meeting room is bigger, the airport or the other meeting room?
The airport is bigger. But the nice thing with having it at FDR HPO is they have some new computer and technical equipment, and they're going to be able to stream them live. So that's why, if that's where we have to do is move to the other one, we certainly will. But if we only have a minimal amount that are attending, then we'll keep it there at FDR HPO. So we're going to do our best as
What would be
chair.
the number that would be the make or break which place you hold it?
We haven't really figured that out yet. Probably what?
In theory, yes. It'll be the number of participants that we're going to have in person. But we're focusing on hybrid that will have a smaller number and be able to fit in the FDR HPO conference room, so that we can actually meet open meetings law and live stream these meetings as we're supposed to.
Question was, what's the number, Ann? How many people can you hold in your conference room?
Well, we can hold up to 30, but most people are not comfortable with that.
I think comfortably right now we can get away with probably 20. But I think 16 would probably be the happier number, to be honest.
All the more reason for the RSVP is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And how many will the airport one hold?
Probably 50.
That big? It's been a while since I've been in that one.
Yep.
Yeah, we're just not sure on the internet connection at the airport to enable our technologies. We do have to look into that yet.
At one time, the WPBS had a conference room as well, but I don't know if that still exists. And I don't know how big that was. I think it was rather small.
Yeah, Chris is saying he can fix it. So if we have to be out at the airport, we can live stream. Chris said he can make that happen. So, but again, our preference would be to have it there. So if we need something and we're not hauling all that equipment around, but we'll do what we need to do to make it work and to see what works for everybody that needs to participate. So. Other new business.
Debbie, it's Matt. Can I jump in on the paramedic program stuff quick?
Absolutely.
All right, so our Faxon St. Luke's Healthcare, the formerly Herkimer program, has transitioned to Utica, and we've signed a collaborative with Mohawk Valley Community College to create a dual certificate degree program. And with that, next month, we're actually going to be doing the announcement, but we're also rebranding. As many of you are aware, Mohawk Valley Health System is basically the consolidation of all the hospitals of Utica. We'll be transitioning to Mohawk Valley Health System's EMS education. And with that, it'll be Mohawk Valley Health System's paramedic program. This collaborative with Mohawk Valley Community College affords the students the ability to get tuition assistance. They can enter in before the basic EMT level, honestly, and start working on their prereq stuff. They're just, the opportunities are endless, and it allows us bigger classrooms for those high stakes lectures. With that, I actually was just up in Fulton, Oswego County last week, meeting with those folks to discuss mentors, training facility availability, and some kind of larger scale, bigger classroom stuff for them. I shot an email out to Paul and Chris. I would like to come up in your direction and talk a little bit about the fall, because we're hoping that those satellite locations can either at least maintain the size classroom they have and the lab availability at their home locations, so that we can kind of expand the number of students, but we'll kind of move from there. As far as the Constableville EMT class this fall, we're planning on starting early September, and we've already got 18 registered with, I'm willing to bet, almost a dozen. I'm thinking about it. So the classroom I've capped at 40, but we have a ton of interest. So we'll see what happens, but I'm reasonably optimistic that I'll have probably 25 or 30 students for the fall class to hopefully kind of bolster our ranks here in the southern end of the region. Outside of that, if anybody's got any questions for me, you know how to get a hold of me.
That's exciting, Matt. Thank you. Any other new business?
Hey, Deb. It's Doug Wildermuth. I just wanted to follow up on I left all my contact information in the chat box if anybody would like to get a hold of me, my email as well as my cell phone. So feel free at any time, especially anybody in St. Lawrence County that wants to sit and get a cup of coffee. I'd be more than happy to. There was some comment earlier by the committee about the Nursing Association, and from past experience and prior jobs in the last 3 to 5 years, and please note, my wife is a nurse and belongs to this organization, they have been very vocal to the point where they're hurting themselves. So what I've seen in past unions is writing a letter, reiterating your stance back and letting them know that, you know, what you do or don't say does speak volumes. And then they tend to have less chatter. But I just wanted to note that because we shouldn't be intimidated by other field providers. We should be working with them, not working against them. And if they're going to say their political foothold right away, obviously they're not interested in working with us, which is really unfortunate. So that's that. And then the last item I wanted to go ahead and share, since Matt was shouting out some classes, I've only been 2 weeks on the job, but I've already constructed an 11-week hybrid EMT class that's coming to Clarkson. Announcements should be coming out this week. And then we're going to have 2 EMT courses this fall. And if everything goes well, everything is completely, let's just say that it's not definite yet. But if everything goes to plan, we hope to have at least 1 EMT class and 1 AEMT class in spring of 2023. So we're hoping everything does go according to plan. But I just want to throw that out there. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Debbie, were you going to do air medical? I saw that Emily was on there from Mercy as well as Colleen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Colleen, do you have anything to, I apologize. I need to add them on my list here.
Good evening and thank you. Nothing really to add except for, I'm not sure if you wanted to share the data that I provided to the REMAC this morning.
I think before I spoke, I would have had that ready, wouldn't you?
It's okay.
Yeah, I can't find it now.
It's okay. If you wanted to share it after the meeting, that's great.
I think we sent it out already. If not, I'll make sure it goes out.
Okay, wonderful.
It did go out.
Okay.
Okay, great. The only thing that we're seeing is weather. Weather's been horrible the first quarter when it came to air medical and utilization, especially Potsdam area. believe it or not, out of service due to we've been flying a lot. But other than that, weather was our big obstacle. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention is our Watertown aircraft, the 135, has been delayed. It looks like we're going to get it in May or beginning of June, but we're really pushing for May. Other than that, that's all I have to report.
Thank you. And I don't see all the names, but we have somebody on from Mercy as well. Would you like to give a report?
Yes, I can do that. I'm Emily from Mercy Flight. I'm the new outreach coordinator there. Not too much to report from us. We've been pretty busy lately, and we're working on getting blood products on the aircraft as diligently as possible. And then we do have one upcoming in-person education day for you guys. It's a bit of a hike, but it's out in the Rochester area. So if anyone's interested in some CME credits, I can get that information over to you all.
Thank you. Anything else? Look forward to seeing people at Spring Fling, getting back in person, being able to sit and chat with people. Again, we do need help. I've already gotten some things from a couple folks, so thank you. It's important that we support our sponsors and that we, get our folks into the vendor area. So, we'll continue with the vendor bingo and some of that to try to encourage that. That is all I have. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 13th, and the hope is that will be a hybrid. So again, please look for that survey, get that answered so that we can do that. We're going to do our best to get stuff out to you for the meeting a month prior. And I'm going to ask that you RSVP 2 weeks prior. So if we do have to change our location, that we have time to do that and can communicate that. Last thing I want is people at one place and we're at another or vice versa. So that's not a way to start out a meeting. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for volunteering and providing EMS. We're in need of a defibrillation. We recognize that. And hopefully we can recognize folks at Spring Fling and let people sit and relax and laugh a little bit. It has been a tough couple of years, and as we have in the past, we will get through this too. So thank you, everybody.
Debbie, just one real quick thing for the committees. If you guys need assistance in setting up meetings, please let us know. We are looking at probably purchasing Zoom. It seems like folks have a little better luck getting on and off the Zoom platform than the GoToMeeting, and it certainly worked better tonight than the updated GoToMeeting did last meeting for me, until my computer locked down during the middle of the REMAC. But I will be sending out the committee report templates prior to the next meeting. And the other thing that's very useful that we use those committee reports for is the completion of the deliverables that the REMSCO has to do in order to receive contract monies. So, the more the activity that you do and you put in there, it's important that we capture that to get funding as well, especially in this day and age where everything is scrutinized.
Good point. Anything else? Hearing
I'll make a
none.
motion to adjourn.
Bobby Simpson makes a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave Sherman. Okay, folks, see y'all hopefully in a couple weeks.